Hello, this is Dr. Martina, your online sex therapist and sex educator. Masturbation and sexual fantasies is the topic of this video today. Masturbation is a very popular topic because it's a huge part of our beautiful multi-layered sexuality, and but hardly ever is anybody talking about the really strong collaboration and the strong partnership between sexual fantasies and masturbation. So today I want to give you an insight into that partnership, and I also want to give you 2 reasons when it is good to talk to someone about your sexual fantasies that you have while you're masturbating. So the first thing I want to talk about is the depth and the strength of this relationship between masturbation and fantasies. When we are masturbating, when we're by ourselves, we don't have an additional body that we can rub against that will help us with our arousal. We don't have another body that we get to touch. We don't have someone else's touch on our body. And so we pretty much depend on ourselves. And we lean on our arousal sources that we also use when we have partner sex, and those are our senses. So sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch. Now, the one arousal source, the 6th one, the fantasy one, is the one that we really lean on heavily when we masturbate. And we all do it. We may not be honest about it, but we all do it. Because when we're alone, we actually get to have the privilege to just be with our thoughts, and we can create any kind of a scenario we want to in our heads. We can fantasize our past experiences, something we read about, something that we've seen, something that we've heard someone else is doing, and we can just roll in that fantasy, and it will help us increase our arousal. And most of us, it will help us push us over the point of no return and into an orgasm. Now, this is a strong relationship, but it hardly gets talked about, which I think is not a bad thing, because some of those fantasies are definitely, when they're being kept secret, we can really expand our mind, because we know nobody gets to go into our mind and will know about it. So we give ourselves quite a lot of freedom to do so. And it is good to keep that freedom. And it is good to not to have to worry about being judged and ostracized because you're sharing your fantasies with somebody. So I think it's not a bad thing to keep those fantasies to yourself. Except there are a couple situations where it would be good for our sexual health and our emotional health when we could talk about those sexual fantasies. And I want to give you 2 scenarios where that would be such a case. So the first situation would be is if your sexual fantasies are scaring you. If you think that they're weird, if you think that they're dark, and if you think that they're just, it's not possible that anybody else would actually think about things the way I think about, and so you are really not allowing yourself that arousal source, you're not allowing yourself that partnership when you masturbate. And that would be a good time for you to talk to somebody about it, someone that you can trust, someone that you know is not going to judge you, and that will listen to your sexual fantasies without, telling you that they're wrong. That would be the first scenario. And the second situation would be if you realize that the fantasy that you've been leaning on for months, sometimes even years, all of a sudden is not working anymore. That one true fantasy you could rely on that would get you past the point of no return now is falling flat. If you don't have anybody to talk to about that, and that assures you that is just normal, then you can go into the scenario of being doubting your touch and doubting your capacity to increase your arousal, because there's got to be something wrong that what I'm doing now, because it's not working. The fantasy is still there, but my body's not responding, so I have to be doing something wrong. Not the case. It's just that the desires have changed. Your body is not responding to them. It's just like a meal, something that has always made your tummy really happy. All of a sudden, you don't feel like eating that anymore. Then You can, you don't have to cry about it. You can say, well, maybe it comes back, or in the meantime, I will just try something else. That as simple as it is, and it can be that simple if you can share this with somebody and actually can have a fun conversation about it. So I encourage you to check in with yourself, to check in, do you have such a strong relationship between your sexual fantasies and masturbation? Do you take full advantage of that partnership, of that powerful partnership? Or are you boggled down with guilt and shame and doubt and fear that you don't understand when it's not working anymore, and then you lose sexual self-confidence, and it can create other sexual challenges that really don't need to be there. I think sexual fantasies is the straw that stirs this powerful drink of masturbation. So denying yourself that partnership and not allowing yourself to really take full advantage of it is really cutting the wings of your own desire, and it doesn't have to be that way if you talk to somebody about it. So if this is you and you want to have help with it, I am very much looking forward to hear from you. Take care, and I'll see you next week.